What's up, everybody? Okay, so little disclaimer before we begin. If the sound sucks this week, it's my fault because I did it, and that's not what I'm good at. So I adjusted it or whatever. So you can blame me and just try and look past it. And other than that, welcome to our final week of our What to Do series. We're happy you joined us. I feel like I'm stood really weird, but it's hard to know how to stand, honestly. Maybe more relaxed like this. Anyways, I don't want to make it 15 minutes just on the little intro that I do. Thanks for watching with us the last bunch of weeks. Sorry that I said it was Father's Day last Sunday and that I messed up every date. It's just, that's who I am, I guess. That's a horrible excuse. I don't know, I just forgot. Anyways, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And other than that, I guess you guys can take it away and we'll see you in a bit.
Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe there's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Just one word, you heal what's broken inside me. Just one word, and you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe there's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like His power. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, there's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do. never fails and never gives up. It never runs out on me. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love. And in death, in life, I'm confident and covered by the power of your great love. My debt is paid. There's nothing that can separate my heart from your great love. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up. It never runs out on me. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up. It never runs out on me. Oh, your love never fails and never gives up. It never runs out on me. Your love.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
When I was in high school, my friends and I went to Taco Bell a lot, and we loved it. But also, it was one of the only fast food restaurants in my town, so we really couldn't be picky about where we were eating. Now, when I was in high school, you could order a couple tacos and drink water, and you could have a great after-school snack for around $1, making it the perfect place for those of us who were short on cash. The only problem was, $1 for me was still a lot of money. So there were a lot of days when I showed up at Taco Bell and I did not have the money to order anything. So on those days, I just played it off real coolly and said that I wasn't hungry. My friend Mike would pay attention when I said I wasn't hungry, and he knew it was more of a money issue than a hunger issue. So he would tell me, just order a couple tacos, I got you. And every time Mike would cover for me, I'd say, man, thank you so much, I'll pay you back. And he would say, no need, you're good. Now, to this day, I still remember that. I was this poor sophomore who couldn't afford to buy cheap tacos, and Mike was this really wealthy junior who picked up my tab without asking for payback. Not seeking payback is really heartwarming and cozy when it comes to borrowing money for tacos, but that is not always the case. Outside of paying money back to someone you owe, the idea of payback also comes up when someone hurts us. For example, when someone talks about us behind our back, we want payback. When someone flirts with our girlfriend or boyfriend, we want payback. When someone fails to text us back or invite us to a group outing, we want payback. In those moments when we've been hurt, we want payback. We want revenge. We want them to feel the pain and the hurt that we felt. We want them to be embarrassed the way we were embarrassed. We want to get back at them for the pain they caused us. Our first reaction almost always is to get even, to seek revenge, to make someone feel the same discomfort that we felt when they hurt us. And isn't it true that the closer we are to a person, the more we want payback? Most of you aren't trying to pay back someone else's brother or sister. Your feelings probably aren't hurt because of someone else's best friend, and you probably aren't angry because of what someone else did. The people who are closest to you and the people who know you best have the most potential to hurt you. And when they do, we want payback. Now, for most of us, payback comes in one of three ways. First, public payback. This is when we do to them what they did to us in an obvious way. We talk bad about the person who talked bad about us. We snap back and make some cutting statements to them in return. Second, passive payback. Now this way is way more subtle. We make comments that aren't obviously hurtful, but could be interpreted that way. We put that subtle post on social media. We roll our eyes when someone talks. We ignore someone else's text. Third, imaginary payback. This one's my favorite. Now this is when payback happens when we have an argument in our minds and we dominate. We get the last word even though the offense will never actually be discussed. It just takes over our thoughts and we never do anything about it. And what's amazing is that sometimes we do have the opportunity for payback. And if not payback, then at least the chance to celebrate when things fall apart for the person who hurt us. Like when someone who hurts us messes up and now we are loaded up with ammunition to kick them while they're down. Or when our ex who broke up with us for someone else then gets dumped. Or when our mom snaps at us and hurts our feelings and now she's crying and apologizing and it is just the perfect setup for us to put an exclamation mark on her regret. In those moments, it feels like karma, doesn't it? I mean, karma just means that you'll get what's coming to you, whether that's good or bad. And that is exactly the sort of situation that Joseph found himself in as we wrap up our story. Now, in this series, we have been journeying through the life of Joseph, whose story is found in the book of Genesis. And his story is a wild one. I mean, early in this series, we talked about how Joseph knew he was his dad's favorite and then rubbed it in his brothers' faces. Joseph also has a dream where he was in charge of the whole family and then he tells his older brothers about it, which only made matters worse, like, not cool, Joe. So Joseph's brothers plot to kill him, which seems like a slight overreaction, but I wasn't there. Instead, they see a group of travelers traveling through the town and they decide to make a little money by selling Joseph as a slave. The rest of the series has covered Joseph as a slave in Egypt, Joseph as a slave in a prison in Egypt, and Joseph as the man who interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh, who was the ruler of Egypt. Now Joseph is eventually placed in charge of all of Egypt. He is the second in command to Pharaoh, and that is not a bad outcome for a kid who was sold into slavery by his own brothers. But then there's a plot twist. After Joseph is second in command, there's this big famine where his family lives. So Joseph's dad, Jacob, sent the brothers to Egypt to ask for food. Now at this point in the story, Joseph's family thought he was dead. I mean, they weren't even thinking about the possibility of seeing Joseph when they get to Egypt to ask for food. When they arrive in Egypt and see Joseph, not knowing that it's Joseph, a huge drama unfolds. And you can read some of these interactions between Joseph and his brothers in Genesis 42 through 50. And trust me, you do not want to miss it. I mean, reading through the back and forth, knowing the backstory, it's like watching a movie. All right, so let's pick up in Genesis 45. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence." So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers, and he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph, is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance." Now there's only one reason Joseph could have responded the way he did. He didn't try to get payback because he had already let go of the idea of revenge. He had already done the hard work of forgiveness. How do we know that? Because Joseph could look in the eyes of the ones who had caused him the most grief, and he could see beyond his own hurt. When Joseph said, "Do not be distressed, do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here," he was acknowledging their wrong and his hurt without seeking payback. Only a healed person could do this. Only someone who had forgiven could do this. Now Joseph chose forgiveness over payback, and we see that in the moment where he had the greatest opportunity for revenge. Somewhere between being sold into slavery and being reunited with his brothers, Joseph did the hard work of giving his hurt to God and allowing God to be central in his healing. And that's why Joseph was quick to acknowledge God in the area where his brothers had caused him the most pain. It didn't make what his brothers did okay. It didn't make Joseph's pain any less. It just took the real pain and the real hurt and no longer put them at center stage. It put God there instead. And that made forgiveness possible. Forgiveness was not only for his brothers, it was freedom from his own pain too. Joseph went on to tell his brothers to go get their father and move the entire family to Egypt because the famine would continue, and without making this move, his family would suffer. And then this happens. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterwards, his brothers talked with him. This is the perfect picture of reconciliation. This is where we see peace take over a relationship that was incredibly fractured, all because of forgiveness. When it comes to other people hurting us, we too have the opportunity to choose reconciliation over payback. In fact, here's a simple way to remember it. When you don't know what to do, pursue peace instead of payback. When you pursue peace, you build a bridge. Payback burns bridges. In other words, you can fight to win, to be right, to get even, to make a point, or you can fight for the relationship, but you cannot do both. When you pursue peace, you fight for the relationship. Joseph preserved his relationship with all of his brothers because he chose peace, and he was only able to do that because he fought for forgiveness, and he was only able to forgive with the help of God. Now, Joseph didn't have a superpower that allowed him to do all of this. He just had determination to do the work that peace requires, which means that you and I can do this too. When you pursue peace, you lay down your right to get payback. You let go of revenge. You say goodbye to your desire to get even. Instead, you choose the path of forgiveness. You choose God's story of reconciliation instead of your own story of payback and revenge. Now, this is way easier said than done, and something that you may have to work at every day, but the ultimate benefit is for you. You not only have peace in the relationship, you have peace within you. Now, when Joseph encountered situations where he didn't know what to do, he trusted that God had a much bigger story in mind. I believe that Joseph knew that peace was better than payback. Even though Joseph had no clue whether he would ever see his brothers in person again, when he did, he was ready because he had done the work of forgiveness in his own heart. He had given his hurts over to God. So as you head out, think about what you have the power to do when it comes to pursuing peace. What do you need to decide in your heart? Who do you need to forgive? What offense do you need to bring to God? He can do incredible things with your fractured story. It starts with you and I choosing to forgive so that we can pursue peace instead of payback.
What's up, guys? First of all, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all dads out there, but also, I guess specifically to my dad. Thanks for being so awesome. Thanks for supporting me and everything I've done and all through my life. Thanks for being that person that I could go to and that would tell me random stories that would make me laugh, and just for being part of the good memories that I have of growing up. I want to say Happy Father's Day to my father-in-law. Thanks for blessing, my marriage so that I could be married to the best lady there is. Also, just thanks for, I guess welcoming me into the family, but not just through your words, but also through your actions. You've been so good and kind to me and Beth, and have been such a good support to us. And so, to both my awesome dads out there, thanks for everything, and Happy Father's Day. And to all the other dads, it's hard to, I said a couple weeks ago, even though I got the date of Father's Day wrong like a loser, it's hard I think guys have a hard time being confident about what they bring to the table and who they are, and so especially as dads. Just from what I know, I'm not a dad, but I've talked to enough to kind of get that feeling. And be happy today. Be happy with. No one's perfect. No one's been a perfect dad, but man, if you're doing your best and you're putting in the effort, then good job. And keep it up. It's Happy Father's Day. All right. We are in our final week of our What to Do series, what to do when you don't know what to do. It's been an awesome series. I actually have really enjoyed it, a lot of practical stuff. I hope you guys have too, and I hope you guys have taken something from it and
just applied some stuff to your life, because it's really good stuff, and it can help you think, like what we learn about really can help in a lot of situations, not just like in trying to be a better Christian, I guess. It actually can just, I think that being a better Christian will automatically make you a better person, but I think that these steps will, even if you're like, oh, I'm not ready to accept Jesus, but you apply these like things that we've been learning to your life, you'll still come out better on the other side. So I always love when stuff is like that, because we're all on a different faith journey, and some people might feel like, hey, this is not for them because they're haven't made that choice yet, or not on that place in their journey yet, or whatever. And I just think that's awesome when a lesson or something can be applicable in both areas, because a lot of biblical stuff can be, Yeah, so the topic of payback is a really good one. She talks about the Taco Bell thing, positive payback, like, hey, I'll get you back, Of course, we want to pay people back when they do good things, but the truth is for the bad things as well. Oh, man. We want to get even. And it makes sense when you think about it. You've been hurt really badly, and so now you want someone else to feel that same kind of pain. It's like, how do I move on if they haven't felt the hurt? They don't know what I'm going through. So it's just a really hard thing to emotionally get past. And so true. It made me feel happy to hear her say this, because it's like, hey, you're not crazy, you're not the only one. She said the closer we are to those people, to someone, the more we want the payback, the more we want to see the payback happen. That is so true. Man, especially like growing up with my siblings, and oh man, you definitely making them feel the same pain you did. Like, you either saying something super cruel to them, or like beating down on them. Not really beating down on them, it's chill. But I guess no, really, but not like that violent, but definitely roughhousing, sibling. Yeah, you want to make them feel the same pain that you felt. And I even have noticed it in my marriage, obviously I'm close with the person I'm married to, and so it's like, but it's like in the beginning when you're not too close, it's like you'll brush off any issue, like everything. In the beginning, it's like everything's good, even when they kind of upset you. It's like, don't worry, forgiven. But then the closer you get, the more it becomes like a, hey, whoa, you did this to me. Now I'm gonna make sure you know that you're hurt too. I've noticed it, dude. I've noticed it. I'm an emotional guy, man. I'm way up in the feels all the time, and so, yeah. It's something I've definitely had to work on, So this, again, practical lessons. This has been really great to like even work through, and like a lot of the stuff that I've applied already in my life have like came up in this series or in this specific week, and so I thought that was cool. She talks about public payback, passive payback, and imaginary payback. I'm not as big on the imaginary. Really don't think about that, but the probably the passive and the public is more of a zone that maybe not even as much public, probably more passive actually. Yeah. So she does a little recap of Joseph's journey, right? And so how he like had this insane like family conflict, and that they basically left him for dead, but then sold him into slavery, and then like his whole journey to there. So then there's this famine that happens in the land, and Joseph's family are in trouble. So the dad is like, hey guys, you need to go to Egypt. They're doing all right, and figure out some help for us, get some food, or see what we can do. Oh man, like, it's just like she talks about when Joseph, like, whenever I've read the book of Genesis, like in my, like, I guess, yeah, not early days, but like the more I read it these days, and like I guess my university time, the more I enjoy the book, because she mentions once how it's like a movie, like it's like a movie, and I've like some people are like, oh, Genesis, man, so whatever, like, but I'm like, man, Genesis is like, I create, it's like such a good story, and like when the characters die, I'm like, what, dude? They just got here. So if you read it as a story, or I guess maybe like when I read it as a story, it was actually so cool and so much more meaningful and so much easier to track. Like, it is really like a movie. It genuinely is. It's very cool. And I'm not just saying that, I actually mean it. Like, I really enjoy Genesis putting in the perspective of a story that's like chapters. And I know that it's in the Bible, so it already is, but we often make the Bible like this very like up there kind of thing that's not easy to read today. And some parts of it aren't, but some parts are. So yeah, it's definitely like a movie, definitely like this awesome story. So a lot of drama, a lot of bad stuff, a lot of good stuff, whatever. So like I just picture this scene, man, and he gets everyone to leave. And since I like do kind of connect, like I'm bit in the feels or whatever, the emotional, like when he gets his like servants and workers, whatever, to leave, and then he just says like he wept. Like, oh my, just imagine seeing your siblings. First of all, yeah, imagine seeing your siblings and being overwhelmed with emotion so much that you weep and that it hits you so hard. And like, he was a man of power, he was a man of dignity, and man, they held themselves in high esteem when they got to that level. So to be like that, in that vulnerable state, so uncommon, man, and adds that much more of like a touching moment to the whole thing. He wouldn't have been able to do that. You just think about how many times you've gone through something and someone has hurt you. Sometimes it doesn't matter how long goes by. If it was never resolved, you still really hold on to it, and it still really gives you pain, and it actually affects your other relationships. But Joseph was able to weep and love the people that left him for dead and then sold him into slavery. He's seen beyond his own hurt, you know? Like, the whole payback thing, right? He is now in power. He can choose to do anything to his brothers, really, that he chooses. He can, like, he doesn't have to give them food. He can let them die, like, pretty much do what they did to him. But he doesn't. He says, hey, like, is my father still alive? Where is he? Like, they're overwhelmed. They're reconciling and having a good time. He's like, oh, we're gonna get you food. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna straighten everything away. I know that you guys did this to me. I know. He's like, I know that you hurt me, but it is, you are forgiven. Now, it didn't make the hurt go away, and it didn't make his pain less, and it actually did, and it didn't make what his brothers did fine, or like all of a sudden, oh, it's cool that we did that now. No. And he still had to work through all that pain and all the emotion of that. But the thing is he didn't. We can hold on to it because maybe like we also don't know how to deal with it. The pain, sometimes we don't know how, and so we just bury it. But he clearly didn't do that. He brought it to God, and he actually worked through it. Oh, I love what she says, actually. She says he put in the work of forgiveness. Work. Not easy. Says straight up, it's not. He had to put in the work to forgive. Everything that is hard to do but good to. It's so hard to do good things. Like sometimes, like eat an apple or eat a bag of chips. It's so much easier to eat the chips than the apple. You know, like it's like we often like are drawn to those things. So basically, like we create disciplines that say, hey, I'm gonna do this because of this. And I think it's hard to forgive people when they've hurt without making them feel the hurt first. It's a very humbling thing to say, you don't have to feel the pain I felt, I forgive you. And that's a discipline. We know why we should do that, and we know how, and it's about learning how we should deal with it as well, like with giving it to God. And I love that he did that he did that genuinely. Like, I think a lot of people, or we can say that we do that, and it's like, hey man, I'm a good Christian, like I'm doing my best, but then we still got so much bitterness and anger about, like, put towards people that we're really not letting go. Oh man, and it's like, you know, like I said with like my wife and like our interactions, like I man, when someone hurts me, I get pretty hurt, and if we're all being honest, man, I'm being honest, I want them to feel that pain initially. If I'm not looking into myself, if I'm not putting the work in, I want them to feel that pain. I want them to feel that hurt. I'm like, hey, if you need to understand what this feels like, you know, without putting in the work of forgiveness. The work, man. It's not easy, but you know why you should do it, and so then you're willing to put in the work. And so Joseph did that, and he actually got through his pain. He gave it to God, and he dealt with it, and that is awesome. So then he released them, man. So when his brothers came, he was actually able to be genuine and actually reconcile with them. You definitely learn some lessons in humility doing it, because for you to say, hey, like, to lay down your right of maybe even making them feel that way if they've hurt you, to lay down your right to, like, I guess, give it back to them, that's a big deal. That's a big deal and not an easy task. And you're gonna mess, if you try this and you take this today and you're like, I'm gonna do that, you're definitely gonna mess up. It's so hard to do. But if you keep trying, you're gonna get it, you know? You're gonna get it more than you don't if you keep trying. Because like, today, it's like she said, like, what, you kind of evaluate where you are and what do you have the power to do. You don't have to be perfect, you know? Like, there's no pressure on being perfect. It's just trying to do, like, what do you have the power to do? Like, maybe I don't have the power to handle a big blow up easily, but maybe if someone hurt me small, an example, like, I don't know, like saying something rude to me, like a rude comment that kind of hurt me, that, like, something about me. It's like, forgive, that's an easy one, maybe not for some, but for me, that would probably be an easier one for me to, like, forgive and process properly and get through it. And not say I forgive them, but hold on to it, to actually release it to God. Like Joseph was doing with his brothers, even though he had an insane situation. So I guess today it's like, think about where you're at and what you can do, and think about who you need to forgive. Yeah. Again, like I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again. This series has been great with saying, hey, just because you do these things doesn't mean everything's going to be good all the time, and it doesn't mean you're going to be in less pain necessarily, or that it's going to happen right away. Like, a good thing might come of it, but like for Joseph, a couple weeks ago, it was like 2 years before something came out of a situation, a decision he made that he thought was right by doing the next right thing. And so, yeah, like, what is the bottom line? I actually had it. I posted it this past week. Oh yeah, here we go. Pursue peace instead of payback. It's just an easy line to remember when you're kind of thinking about it, when you're, like, upset, or when you're upset at somebody. It's like, you know, pursue peace instead of payback. Really challenging, but really worthwhile. You'll feel better in your heart, man. It comes back to doing the next right thing. Forgiveness is always the next right thing, you know? And so you'll feel better even though it's hard. You'll feel better even though... I know it's a little longer this week, but hey, it's our last week. I think we'll do one more series before we kind of take a break for the summer. Stay on your social media stuff for some posts about what's coming up next. And we just want to say thank you for tuning in and supporting this video series we're doing. Thanks to Orange for their content. It's been so beneficial for us, and thanks to Abby and Emma and Matt, the people you've been seeing doing the worship each week. They've just given their time so easily. I honestly never had to ever kind of like push them at all. They were always just so willing to help, and thanks so much. So appreciate you guys so much. And yeah, I think that might be it. I say too many times, saying I'm way too much, but that's okay. We're all just figuring it out, you know? You could maybe forgive me? I don't know. That was probably a loser way to put that in there. Okay. I honestly also, to all like the regular youth that go to our group, man, I miss you guys so much. Like, so much of my personality is like engaging with people in person. Like, I'm terrible online, but like, I miss you guys so much. I can't wait till we can actually like come to youth and have a regular night again, whenever that is, or whatever that looks like, and we'll make it work no matter what, you know? We're a great crew, but I miss you guys. I really do. I like, genuinely do. Like, you guys are hilarious and you're so awesome. Like, yeah. All right, I'll sign off now. It's been 18 minutes, even though I'll probably edit some out, because who wants to listen to me for 18 minutes? So maybe it's not 18 minutes, but it is when I'm recording. So, you know. Should I shoot it again to see? Nah. All right, guys. Peace.